Welcome, everybody, back to Why Does It Feel So Wrong to Be Human at Work, the podcast where we share short, honest conversations about the human side of work. And this is Between the Seasons. I'm Pinaki Kathiari, and today joining me is our executive producer, Bree Bartos.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Bree. And today we are joined by Bill Kuehler, co-founder of Resource Hero and Salesforce MVP, as well as Sam Knight, who's our fractional CMO at Resource Hero. So thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sam, for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So this week we're doing another reacting to Reddit at work that Bree does. And so Bree is going to read something to us and we're going to react to it. But before we do, the listeners had a chance to get to know Bill a little bit last episode. But Sam, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing today with us at Resource Hero?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 10 years ago, I started my career and I started as a marketer. I worked in technology my whole life with high growth startups. I'm from the Atlanta area, so I worked with Salesforce. That was my first job out of college. And then from there, I went and worked for a couple startups. I had the dream of moving to California, chasing my dreams, moved across the country to California, worked for a high growth tech startup out of there, did some more marketing stuff. And then at that point, wanted to kind of go and try to do my own thing. And so I had this weird kind of experience of marketing, but also technology. I'm not an engineer, but I've always been super into technology and really trying to learn it and master it. And so what started was a marketing agency. And over the last 2 years, what I've really started to do is try to infuse these kind of AI agentic services into it. Because what I've learned is that it allows me to get so much more work done at a higher quality than I've ever been able to before. And so I'm still really exploring what that means. At the core, I'm a marketer. I'm fractional CMO. But day by day, more and more technology is getting infused into that. And so we'll see what that title actually is in 6 months or a year from now.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love the idea of job crafting and making it up as you go along. And yes, that's a great kind of like pathway to look at it and stuff like that. So yeah, that being said, y'all ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Bree, what's going on?
All right. So today's Reddit post I have been waiting to share. I found this one and it made me mad. And I feel as though it might make you guys mad too. So I'd love to hear your opinions on it.
Embracing myself.
This one, it is 1 year old and it is from the subreddit Ask Managers. OP deleted their account. But it is titled, I've created a problem. Throwaway and no names because the employee uses Reddit. I hired a young man with less experience in our field thinking I could train him up just enough to be helpful in growing our salespeople. I built the training program here, I wrote the initial material, and I'm trusted by the owners with the growth and talent that drives the company. The problem is, the young man I hired is going way above what I wanted him to do, and his passion and drive are really making some of our senior leadership look bad. This has turned some of them against me and my entire program. Every time I turn around, he's gained more trust from even some of our highest level salespeople. So firing him would make for terrible optics. But the general managers of each branch are growing tired of him, and so am I. He doesn't know how annoying his confidence in his own skill set has become. And worse than that, he has picked up on the fact that much of the senior leadership does not like him and has started trying very hard to please me, which is only more annoying since I cannot stand his energy anymore. It appears he's using his ability to coach our salespeople and gain their trust as a shield because the more we try to push him down or move the goalposts, the harder he works to achieve what we want to a point where it's almost inhuman and anyone would have burned out, but he just won't quit. I don't hate him and I want him to succeed, but it just can't be here, not in my program. I asked our company consultant if we should lower his salary, but he made us aware that if he left to a competitor, he could take some of our best talent. The yearly surveys came back with way more support for him from our salespeople than we wanted. This has gotten out of hand. Please help.
Wow.
Oh man. I mean, just to kind of like make sure we all kind of understand what's going on here. This manager is upset that the subordinate is getting recognition more so than everyone else. They're hating? They're hating. Is that
The
that's what
whole
it's called?
leadership team is
The
hating.
whole leadership is hating?
I mean, can you honestly imagine hiring somebody that has passion and drive? I mean, why would you want to do that, right? I mean, wow.
Oh,
and
man.
we do have some additional comments from OP that don't help his case.
Okay.
Okay.
Because everyone else is like, you're mad at a guy for doing a job well. And the OP comment, our GMs built this company for 35 plus years. They aren't going anywhere and they're unwilling to change. And I don't blame them. They've earned the right to run things at each office the way they want. This sales growth manager is working circles around them and they aren't happy. It's shaking up our culture. The problem is he's only doing his job.
So it's
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. The other line besides the passion and growth or passion and drive being a problem, the other one that kind of jumped out at me was we've been trying to push them down, but it's just not working. Like, what kind of model is that?
Yeah.
No, that's
the sad thing is that I guess are there more people like this? So I guess, for people, do we believe that like, oh man, this person is doing really good? It's not about like, can we work together or can we change? It's just like, I guess the core question is he actually driving sales growth? And is it working? And all signs seem to point to yes.
Sounds
And if
like
it's
it.
working, why would you not,
Because it's making the leadership look bad because they're not trying as hard.
Hmm.
And they're
It's coasting.
intimidated.
Yeah.
So I'm
I mean-
curious in their interview process, what was their goal? Was it to try to find someone that's going to be very average and mediocre? Or?
yeah.
And is that your strategy management in any company? Really think about that. Yeah, this one is a little bit more kind of straightforward and interesting, because I've never seen that to just let's hold it down and and kind of stay at mediocre. Because there's like succession planning. There's a whole bunch of things like that. Like we were not thinking about, I guess, that in any kind of capacity here either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one has me at a little bit of a loss because
Well,
I mean, if you were having like, I guess it doesn't seem rational. Sorry, I
Go ahead,
didn't
Bill.
mean to cut you off, Bill.
Well, yeah, no, I was going to say sometimes situations like this where my natural reaction is to just say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I try to think about how I could steel man the argument, right? Let's give it the best possible read about why they might feel that way. And I guess if I had to do that, play devil's advocate, if you will, I might say, okay, they have a certain culture in the business. If the business has been growing and they have happy clients and the culture's good, everybody gets along and everything else, having somebody that has passion and drive, but is driving it maybe the wrong direction or a different direction, so maybe as those managers, they're looking at it and saying, okay, we've done it this way for a long time. We've seen consistent growth. The company is successful. We got dividends for all of our shareholders, whatever it is. And now they have this person that's coming in and trying to, they're passionate. Great. That's cool. But maybe they're going in a direction that they don't agree with. So I can see maybe that could be a thing. Just because a person has passion and drive doesn't necessarily mean it can be good passion and drive. Just because the other people like them, nice guy is not a profession. So maybe they're very gregarious and they're making friends and things like that, but maybe the direction and, is just not right for the company. So if I just steel man it, that maybe it would be the way I would look at it.
Well, thank you so much for repositioning it that way so we can try to take a look at it from the other perspective, because that seems to be the harder path. It made me think of like how you kind of get set in your ways, and being someone who's very gregarious out there, like people could just suck the air out of the room and take up the entire conversation without giving anyone else ability. I wonder if this person that OP is talking about does some of that and almost serves as a bit of a blocker potentially. Just if I was to think in the other side. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and just one final thing, and then I'll be quiet here. The other thing too is you ever have somebody that would join a team and they feel like maybe they come from another organization, they're joining the team, and they just want to change everything right away, and their change is not bad. That could be a good thing, but they don't take the time to learn how things happen now. Like they might want to change a process that's in place because they think it's ridiculous. but they don't take the time to learn about why it was put in place to begin with. Why are we here? Like, why do we do things the way that we do it? They might, again, maybe they throw the straw man up saying, oh, they just do it because that's the way they've always done it. They never even thought about it. But there's a chance that they really did think about it. There's reasons why they have certain ways of doing things and certain ways of reaching out to clients, things like that. So, I think just the one lesson there is that whenever I join a team or something new, I try to be quiet or ask questions and learn why they do things, or try to get their perspective before I try to interject with, hey, why don't we change it, do it this way? So again, all aligned with try to steel man the argument that I honestly think is a ridiculous argument, but try to give it the best possible reading if I can.
What's been really interesting with this evolution of AI that we're seeing is there's a lot of AI layoffs. But I think what it really is a lot of bloated companies and a lot of bloated businesses. And it seems like, Coinbase, for example, had a ton of layoffs earlier this week. And kind of reading between the lines, it seems like what it really is it's an excuse to clean house because they have a bunch of people that are not necessarily productive to the business. They overhired. And I think we're seeing that across the board. So, I would love to know what industry this business is in. Is it like a legacy business? Because I do think that there's a situation where there's a lot of companies that have dominated just because maybe they were early to the market or they've been around for a long time. They've gotten comfortable. And then there's a lot of people in those higher up roles. They're like, hey, we don't need to grow. We don't need anyone to come in here and, mess things up. We're comfortable. We like it. This is good. And so potentially this is one of those situations where, maybe the founder's not there anymore. So they're not the one, really making sure that everyone's marching in line. I'm not sure what the industry is, but to me, it reminds me of a lot of these stories that I've heard. We saw a bunch of TikTok videos before a bunch of these layoffs started of, come along with me a day in the life of working at X company. It's like, go for a run, get a coffee, eat an omelet, and there's no actual work being done. So you just wonder, are these people that are upset, are they threatened because their kind of lifestyle and nice way of living could be under threat because there's people that actually do want to work? I guess that'd be the opposite side of the argument that Bill Steelman.
Well, no, that's really interesting, Sam, because as you're describing this, I'm thinking that this character that's coming in with the drive and the passion and all this kind of stuff, if you substitute that for an AI like implementation at a company, I could see managers, existing staff saying the exact same things about AI. So it's basically this person, AI, whatever it is, it's almost like a disruptor. And sometimes when you bring disruptors in, it's uncomfortable and you have to kind of reevaluate how you think about things. So,
Yeah.
It's a good analogy.
There's a lot we don't know, of course. Obviously, there's some sales involved. But one of these comments that someone left was, you didn't create a problem. At worst, you revealed a problem. And it's that success isn't what leadership at your company wants. And if his high performance is annoying you, as you indicate in your fourth paragraph, you're part of the problem. And he did comment back, OP, some of this is personal. I recognize that. I find it irritating that he seems to know so much at his age. He annoys my best friends at this company we've built, and there's no way he knows as much as he leads on. It just isn't possible. But he hasn't slipped up with our salespeople to give me the opportunity to correct him. So obviously he knows something if he's not slipping up. And I just think a lot of this, I'm like, are you just ageist? Because you keep saying you and your friends have been here 35 plus years. You hired this young guy who, and you felt like didn't have much experience. And now you're mad that this young person came in excited, probably excited to have a job because this economy sucks and it's hard to get a job. And maybe this person was laid off at their previous company. So they're really hoping to establish themselves in this brand new company and really make a name for themselves so that they become someone that can't be laid off. They're someone that's important to the company. And so maybe they're just giving their all after a really bad past experience at work. And these people are like, no, you can't do that.
It's a wild thing. And they've kind of closed themselves off to any kind of negotiation or working together in this place. Somehow that happened. And I'd always say, how do you bring that back? How do you bring it together? Right. And the first way is kind of what's the good? And there seems to be a lot of good, right? Oh man, we dislike this person who's doing so much good because it's making us feel bad about ourselves. So what's the good? And you realize that there is good. And so how do we work together so we feel less bad about ourselves, right? Like, what is it that he's taking? And is it sometimes you have to push yourself? I'm sorry. You might have to push yourself because change is that. Because I wondered with Sam's, what you said about bloated and just kind of that laying off. I get that. I understand that. I wondered while you were saying that whether it was this management that would be getting laid off, or would it be people like this passionate person? Like, and that really depends on that upper management, because at this point, that upper management sees what this guy's doing, and they might take out the middle management there because you're not ready to change.
Yeah, and that previous comment does say, like, our GMs, they built this company, they are unwilling to change, and I don't blame them. They've earned the right to run things at each office the way they want. And so it sounds very, very stubborn, stuck in their ways. And I guess, like, Pinaki, I know you like to help out companies, talk to companies about like their internal comms and things like that. If you had someone you met maybe at a conference, maybe it's another work friend from a different company, if you had someone come to you and they were complaining about this, what question would you pose to them? Because I feel like you would have to ask them a question, right? Of like, what about him being successful is so harmful to you guys? Like, how would you get them to like open their eyes in this scenario and realize like this person, it's not a problem?
I dig into the feels. Like, how is this making you really feel about yourself? And because I think right now this meta intelligence type of thing is like really understanding your own self is really the key to this, because the problem is not out there. The problem is inside, or your ability to rationalize what's going out there, right? I think in a few episodes ago, Dr. Matt Zakrusky talked about this as well. So y'all should check out that episode. That being said, any last words before we wrap up this episode? Because this was a lot of wild stuff about. I did not expect that one, and I also thank you, Bill and Sam, for kind of posing like alternate views, because I think Human at Work needs to show the different viewpoints around all of this. So without knowing that, we can't really find a way to come together. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we all thought something very differently of like the information we didn't know. We all filled it in very differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just say one last thing is just that when you hear people say things like, well, how could he know this? Or what is he thinking? It kind of reminds me of like any number of like rom-coms that you watch where the main conflict in the story could have been averted if they just asked like a single basic question to somebody. So you kind of think to yourself like, okay, well, if you're that manager, this guy's like annoying you and he's doing all these things, you think he might know something, or you think he doesn't know something. Maybe sit down and have a conversation. Just ask him his perspective. Hey, why do you do that this way? Or why do you think this way? And you'll confirm one or two things. Either he doesn't know what he thinks he knows, or he does, and you yourself can learn something from it. So, I mean, I don't understand why people just don't ask questions at all.
Seek the path of curiosity. Thank you.
Yeah, and I definitely think that entire leadership team could probably use a course on communication.
I think the last thing I would say is the phrase that stood out to me is when they're talking about I think the GMs is what they reference them as. They've earned the right, to do this how they want. I played college baseball, and I just think about it in terms of like teams, right? If someone was my teammate for 3 years and they busted it and we went really hard, but then that fourth year they're just not interested and they don't want to be, they don't want to try because they've earned the right. To me, I'm like, well, you can't be on this team. We can't it's just not going to work. So that phrase is the one phrase that really stood out to me in the whole thing.
Also, what stood out to me is I don't hate him. And I'm like, at the end of that entire thing, sounds like you hate him.
Oh, man. You might hate yourself.
Sorry.
Well, with that said, thank you. Thank you so much, Bill and Sam, for joining us. This was so much fun and did not expect all of that, but really happy with the way we articulated it.
Thank you so much for having me. That was a blast.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you to our listeners for tuning into this week's episode of Human at Work. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Right. And we'll be back next week for another short, honest conversation about the human side of work. We'll see you next time.
Bye.